agree with Alan Greenspan, we ought to just eliminate the debt ceiling. Oh, absolutely, we do.
The ability of almost every working American to access more credit than they should have been able to masked the underlying fact that lower and middle class incomes were not rising.
That's not a tenable strategy. Isn't now the time to eliminate it? Oh, it would have been time a long time ago to eliminate it.
Let's put aside terrorism. Let's talk only about our own homegrown animals that are patrolling America right now. So it goes down to the simplest thing. Be prepared, be vigilant.
Big thanks to those of you who decided to take on the challenge. Big thanks to those entrants of the Survive the Bugout Challenge, the I Am Liberty Survive the Bugout Challenge, which is going to become an annual get-together. Not really a get-together, but an annual. Really what it is, it's a bug-out bag audit. That's what it is, at the very core of it. The I Am Liberty Survive the Bugout Challenge is a chance for people to get off of the computer seats, out of the chat rooms, out of the forums, and really put their bug-out bag to the test, right? So the way it's going to work, we've got contestants already, which I'm very, very happy about. Thank you guys. You know who you are. Thank you very much for signing up. And I am still building a cache of prizes, if you will. I'm trying to build an impressive prize cache so that we can, whoever wins this thing it's worth their while. So what we're dealing with essentially is on September the 2nd, which is a Friday night, if you're an entrant, you'll be asked to leave your email. It's not because I want to send you a stupid newsletter or make you part of some list where I email you about my new survival anklet. I've got a new paracord survival anklet, and it comes packed with paracord and fishing hooks and Daytrex bars built into it, and all you'll ever need to survive in this one little bedazzled survival anklet by I Am Liberty. You know I don't sell hack tools like that. But I have been thinking about like a real, like a 5 and under prepper store for my website. For things like that we use a lot. The flint and steels, those types of things. Anyway, different topic. So what we're dealing with basically, September the 2nd, if you're into this type of thing, if you want to actually get out and put your skills to the test, September 2nd, a warning will go out to your email, right? And the imminent danger, I don't know how I'm going to word it yet, but it's going to be cool. Imminent danger, the threat to your living area, your home, your space, your town, your community is imminent. And you have but one option, and that option is to bug out. And in this message, it will detail exactly what the threat is and how it could affect your household or your family. And the recommendation that you get as far away as possible, or maybe not as far away, but there'll definitely be an amount of a distance that you'll have to cover to get away from this coming threat. And of course, then you'll be tasked with, and this is going to come in the evening. This is not going to come bright and early Friday morning. This is going to come in the evening, maybe 6 to 8 p.m., something along those lines. You might get it at 6, and you might have 2 hours to plan and get out or something like that. Or I might just throw it out at 8. Maybe thinking more along the lines of just throw it out at 8. So it hits the email waves at 8 o'clock. You get it, you read it, you figure out, okay, I've got to get out of here, and I've got to get out of here fast. Grab the bug-out bag and head out to your location or locations, depending on what you've got planned. And once you make it there to your bug-out location, or to your overnight location, depending on what you plan on doing, at that point, the email will also cover a list of several different tasks that have to be achieved at this location, right? So challenges, basically, that you must overcome in this Survive the Bugout Challenge. And I don't know, it might be 5, it might be 10, it might be 30. But they'll all be unique challenges that you'll have to figure out either with what's around you or with what's in your bug out bag. And these things could be things like injuries, illness, shelter, water, fire, things like that. Things like that. And essentially we'll run through what will be a very exciting challenge, and what will also be, well, it also is going to be basically an audit. It really will be an audit and a learning experience for your bug out plan, which is most important. It'll be a chance for you to take that thing out and put it to the test, which is good. It's fun. It's exciting. And it makes sense. It helps in the long run. It will help you. It will help you improve. So that said, if you go to my website, there's a little tab over there. It's a win tab on the right. All right, IamLibertyShow.com. Click the win tab, and you can join the Bug Out Challenge. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a good time. So the winner will be decided by yours truly, and essentially it'll be. I'll look over in the email. I'll give you some area for where you can fill out essentially what you did to surpass each challenge. You can provide pictures if you'd like, that type of thing, and I'll choose one winner from the lot of you. There's no second place, no third place. There's none of that. There'll be one winner, and we'll probably highlight you. Talk about what exactly you did on the show and all that kind of stuff. So that's it. That's the I Am Liberty Survive the Bug Out Challenge, and I have to tell you, these physical contests are exciting to me. And they really are. These physical contests are pretty darn exciting to me. I'm almost thinking about a virtual race coming up after this. Maybe in the fall. Maybe in the fall time, a virtual race. They're very fun. They're something that's catching on. But anyway, survive the Bug Out Challenge with James Walton from I Am Liberty and have a good time and win some prizes. I'm really trying hard to get someone to donate a tomahawk, a really nice tomahawk. I just got one from Kershaw that I am in love with. And I don't know. I think that'll be something cool. I think that's something that folks would like. Got a bunch of other small prizes in the works. So go over to IamLibertyShow.com and take your the win tab. Click the win tab and sign up. Click the win tab and sign up to win. Well, that's the thing, though. You may not win. But I can tell you what, unlike most contests where you fill in an email and hope and pray, you're going to learn a lot from this one. You're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to see what happens at 8 p.m. at night when someone makes a call across the lines that you need to get going, and you need to get going fast. And that's exciting. So don't miss out on it. Don't miss out on it. What else do we want to talk about? What else do we want to... I'm for some reason, I feel like I need to stay away from the news on a day like today. I feel like we should stay far away from the news. I think I'd rather talk to you about the show and the things that I have planned for the show, honestly. That's really kind of what I feel like doing. I'd much rather talk to you about I Am Liberty and what I have planned in the future. Because you see, there's a lot going on. And that's what you have to remember about life. There's a lot going on outside of all the misery, right? Outside of all the horror and everything that's happening. I can't talk about Islam. Again, I can't talk about it. I can't do it. You've got my fill the last 3-4 episodes in a row. They've all started with the same thing. Muslim killer cuts heads off and monster. It's up to you now. It really is. You've got to carry the message. You've got to carry the load for a little bit and tell people, figure things out. I need your help, all right? I can bark at the moon all night, every night. It's not going to change much unless you guys change some things with me. It's a team effort here at I Am Liberty. But rather than go down that rabbit hole, rather than go down that path and get all worked up, I'd rather talk about what's happening. I'd rather talk about what's happening in the world of I Am Liberty. Right? Because a lot's happening. There's a lot going on. This show is going to get more of my time very soon. You know, I'm looking to cut my work down. I'm looking to get out of this full-time work schedule, full-time working for someone else, and take the plunge into the podcast and writing and maybe some internet business. You know, so you're gonna get to see something new and interesting, and I'd like to document it a little bit for those of you out there who are sort of in the same boat. Right? The very interesting thing about this whole move, right? This move of mine. And the move is cutting the full-time work schedule in half, right? And doing what I can for the business I work for at part-time. And sinking more of my time into freelance writing, more of my time into content production, more of my time into some business-to-business marketing for some really good companies out there who are in the prepper and survival niche. Things like, well, you don't need to know my plans completely, but nor do you care, I'm sure. But the fact of the matter is I'm cutting my nice, comfortable work week that provides me a decent salary. I'm cutting that in half, and I'm taking a risk, right? Just like the monkeys who came out of the trees, who turned into Australopithecus, who became Homo erectus. Our whole existence was based off of risk, right? If you look back at the history of the human race, the whole history of our race is based on risk. And now is the time for me to take one of those calculated risks. And that's what I'm doing, and I want you guys to be aware of it, because this is one of those exciting things that can happen in America, and only in America. Well, maybe not only in America, but this is one of those exciting things that many Americans are thinking about, right? They're getting up every day, they're going to work, they're miserable. God damn it, I don't want to go to this job. This job drives me crazy, my boss. I don't want to look at him. So I'm going to take the plunge here, probably within the next 3 months at the most. I'll be taking the full-scale plunge and doing the whole thing, you know, incorporation, all that stuff, going out on a limb, trying to make it work. And, you know, there'll be very clear goals of success and failure, and whatever comes of it, but I feel pretty good about success. I mean, I have a great following with I Am Liberty here, and I also have a lot working in my favor, let's put it that way. Right? And of course, the long-term goal is to be able to make this thing work all together on my own, through the podcast, through writing, and through various other things. But your host is taking that risk now 5 years in. Right? So the transformation and what's possible in a podcast, what you can do with a podcast is, 5 years ago, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea who I was, what I was doing when it came to survival or preparedness. I didn't know what kind of person I was in that realm. And the power of a podcast the power of a podcast really allows you the playing field, and a nice calm one at that, you know what I mean? One where you're not under incredible scrutiny or pressure. The podcast allows you to build a small audience slowly, and it also allows you to become an expert. It allows you to become an authority in a field. And, you know, much kudos to Bobby Eckhart, one of the other great hosts on PrepperBroadcasting.com. Check him out. He actually got interviewed by George Norrie not long ago, which is about as cool as it gets. Superhero of mine, George Norrie. He followed me on many a cold, dark ride into the pretzel bakery back in another time of my life. But Bobby brought me on his show about a month, no, I don't know, it was probably about 3 months ago now. And he said, you know, we have what did he say? An expert in preparedness and self-reliance, James Walton, with his show, I Am Liberty. And at that moment, it was kind of one of those things where it was like, yeah, well, okay, I'll take it. I'd never been called it before, but yeah, I'll take it, sure. And before long, when you do a podcast, when you do it on a specific topic, it's an inevitability. You spend a few times a week researching, you spend at least an hour a week talking about a certain topic, and before you know it, yes, you become an authority. You become an authority on the topic. And that's the power of a podcast and what it can do for you, and here I sit 5 years later. Everyone in this whole struggle that is life wants to be the overnight master, right? Wants to be the person that opens the business and in 6 months has gone viral and is making billions. And in business, that's not usually how it works. That's really not usually how it works. So don't get down on yourself if you're out there trying to make it. Just know, like I said, I have garnered a small following of people that I am very proud of, and it's taken me every bit of 5 years to get here. And if I jump ship and this thing works out, then it took me 5 years to build a platform solid enough to get out there on my own, right? And a platform of expertise, a platform of fans, a platform of skills, right? To take this information on preparedness and survival and morph it into great content that people want to post on their websites or buy via ebook from me. And that's exciting in and of itself, but that's the power of a podcast. A podcast's power shouldn't be measured by the amount of views it gets in its first 6 months on the air. I hear a lot of podcast guys talk about that. Well, if it doesn't do well, then I usually cut it off, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? I usually cut that thing off, and I start a new one on a different topic. I want to see big numbers early on. And maybe that's a business model that works for people, but if you're building an empire on a specific niche, right, then let that thing grow, right? Let that vine creep. Let that vine creep and slowly take over the castle, because it's going to do that if you're into what you're talking about and if you can at least engage some segment of the population you're talking to. And again, those two kind of go hand in hand. If you're into what you're talking about, if you're passionate, then that'll happen. If you're phoning it in and reading a script, then nobody's going to listen to your podcast. That's kind of how it goes. You got to be passionate. You got to have your finger on the pulse of what people care about and what they're thinking. And then you start talking. And then before long, you find yourself in a position where, wow, I've garnered myself some respect here, and this is pretty impressive. And you can monetize, right? And that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm looking to take that to the next level, really. And I'd like you guys to be a part of it. I'd like to check in with you and let you know how this risk is going that I've taken, because it is a risk. I mean, there's a huge margin of error, a margin for failure. It can easily happen. It could easily happen that I throw out a really great job here and turn it into something that is less than what it is currently. Because let me be honest, I could coast comfortably where I'm at right now and live a good life. Or I go out on a risk here and maybe live an even better life. See, that's the risk of business, right? But those are the things I'd like to talk about on I Am Liberty this go-round, and I'm sorry if it's not as exciting as what I oftentimes give you, but it's kind of where I'm at. It's kind of what I want to talk about, I am not that interested in talking about the bad news and the horror. So we're talking the Bugout Challenge. We're talking goals in the future of the I Am Liberty show and the life and times of James Walton. There's a lot of things I'm working on, and we talked about a lot of them. I want to touch on something else, though. I want to talk about my first egg. So you can understand how some goals have to be met. because, my first egg is a very important thing for me. About 2 years ago, I took on a lot of different things. I started hunting. I upped the ante on my martial arts and self-defense training. And one of the things that I talked about a lot those 2 years ago was getting chickens. It was this time in my life where I put a lot of lofty goals up in the air, and I'm still working towards some, and I've accomplished others. That's what life is. One of those goals was to get chickens. You know what I mean? I wanted to get chickens. I wanted to have them around. I wanted to have that source of protein around. And in the spring, my family and I picked out 6 beautiful little chicks. We brought them home, and we kept them under the heat lamp, and we nursed them into what turned out to be 4 roosters and 2 hens. And for a while, when you say you're getting chickens 1 year, when you say you're getting chickens 2 years, listen, I'm a guy who never wants to be seen as a bullshitter. You know what I mean? I really don't, especially not when it's about things that I want to achieve, things that I want to do. When it comes down to that, I want to achieve. I don't put goals out there to please people or to impress people. These are things that I want to achieve. So after the first year, I didn't do anything with the chickens. I talked a lot about them. The second year rolled around, and I was lucky enough to get a chicken coop for Father's Day for my wife because she knew how much I wanted this thing, or from my kids. And then that year went by, and the chicken coop stayed empty. And that's one of those things that hurts me. It's things like that makes me really make me really upset with myself. You know what I mean? And I get upset with myself, and I'd say, God damn it, Jim, you've got to get this thing done. This is a big deal, right? This is a very big deal. So, luckily enough, in the spring, we got our birds, right? Turned out we got a bunch of damn roosters. That's okay. We ate a couple of them. We ate 3 of them. And there's still one out there milling about, and I'm sure he's going to meet his untimely end eventually. But till then, he's with the flock right now, the flock of 2 hens and himself. And yesterday, I was building them a new coop. I was upgrading their coop, taking it off the ground, putting it up high. I used some posts. I used a pallet. I dismantled some of their old coop and used that. And really, with the scrap wood, I think for about $13, I built them a whole new coop. I'm going to spend a little more money to put a better roof system on it, on the coop itself. But for now, at $13, I'm very happy with where they sit. That said, throughout this process, right, I'm cutting up wood. I was building a new roof for the small part of the coop where they actually live in the nesting box and whatnot. And throughout this whole process, I see one of the hens is just panting severely and giving me all kinds of attitude, right? And at one point, she actually ran up in the shed where I was cutting all the wood and started barking at me. And it took me a while to understand what was going on until I saw her back end, right? Her back end was almost like undulating. And I said, oh. And I saw her dig into some bedding and try to find a spot to nest. And I realized after I had dismantled their coop, of course, it's perfect timing as it always is. I dismantled their coop at a time when she was getting ready to lay her first egg. So she was frantic, right? House was gone. Her house got picked up by a James Walton tornado, and she didn't have anywhere to lay. And it was kind of sad to watch, really, because she was frantic. And we worked through it. I gave her space. She gave me mine. She stopped screaming at me. And after a while, she walked out of the shed and went about her business, right? No more panting. She was feeling fine, looking good. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I think we got our first egg today. So she went out and searched around in the shed a little bit, and then sure than shit, we had our first little brown egg. And I showed it to my son. I gave it to him. I told him to wash his hands after, obviously, but my son held it in his hands, and I posted it up on Twitter. It's a big deal. Okay? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. It was a big goal for me. And having this now just upgrades the whole homestead. You know what I mean? It really does. It upgrades. I've seen things come to life, and I can't tell you how important it is to map out goals, right? And do these types of things. You have to. This is what makes life wonderful. If you come home and you turn the TV on at the end of every day, every work day, and watch it, you're not going to have any life. You're not going to have any fun in life. You're going to turn into a miserable person who picks up a Quran and cuts people's heads off. No, I don't know. I don't know that to be true, but you have to do these things. You have to do these things. It's very important to me. And when you see the payoff, it's unbelievable. You know, so now we're going to have our own eggs. That's it. You know, we're going to have our own eggs. And life has changed for the better for us. We've got these high-quality eggs. I also created an awesome infographic about the level of nutrition in backyard-raised eggs, where the chickens have the ability to really free range. You know, my chickens run the yard about 3/4 of their day. You know, they eat bugs, they eat grasses, and it pays off in the quality of the egg. So I put a little infographic, or made a little infographic about backyard chickens, and I'm going to post that later. It'll be posted by the time you get this show. But these are the types of things that can happen, right? These are the types of things that can happen if you set goals. And what else? What else is happening in the realm of I Am Liberty that you should be excited about? I mean, these are things that you should take excitement in if you listen to the show at any regular interval, right? Maybe not so much Jim's getting fresh eggs, but maybe I hope that helps to motivate you. I'm on the highway now, so this might sound terrible, but I hope that helps to motivate you. Because that's a big deal to me, right? That's part of parcel of what I do. But we've got the freelance career kicking off. We've got more time going to be going into the business, at least by fall. There's other big things too. You know, we're slowly but surely digging this gem of a comic book out for our world, and I think we're very close to issuing that first sort of demo issue out to publishers. You know, we're going to send this demo issue out to people, and I think they're going to bite. I think they're going to see the success in The Walking Dead, and they're going to say, you know, we can do something similar minus the zombies, because the zombies are beat to death. Nobody wants to hear about them. And these 4 characters, if you haven't read the book, in our world, are just incredible. You know, this book means more to me than any other book I've ever written, because I did it with a very close friend, and we built something that is going to be something gigantic. I know it. So that's on the periphery, and what I'm currently writing, the book that I'm currently putting most of my effort into, is The Guide to How to Survive a Mass Shooting. Right? The survival method for surviving a mass shooting in public today. You could say what you want. We're a scared public. We don't want to go out. We're scared. The terrorists are winning. What I see more than anything is that this is a training moment for the American public. This is a training moment. That's what this is. This is a training moment for the American public. And I want them to get their hands on this book, and I want them to understand how to, you know, diagnose a room, how to diagnose an issue, how to view a room, what things to look for when you enter a space. What are you looking for? Where are your exits? Where are your bottlenecks? Where do you not want to be if shooting starts? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to sit? Where do you want to spend your time? Then rate your exits based on, you know, which ones should I use? How many people are between me and that exit? What's that exit going to look like in the event of an emergency or disaster type scenario? These are all very important things. We're going to talk about run, hide, and fight, and what that means in an active shooter scenario. It's going to be a phenomenal read, okay? It's going to be a very important piece of training for the average American. And that's what this takes. You know, this doesn't take cowering in a corner. Just because the terrorists show up and start shooting people, it doesn't mean we cower in a corner. It doesn't mean that we never go out again. It means that we train, and we learn, and we adapt, and we show them monsters that, yes, this democratic homeland, this beautiful place we call America, is going to adapt to your brand of terror, and we're going to overcome it. And you'll be forgotten. America will go on strong, and you little monsters, you little trolls will be forgotten just as you were back in the 7th century. And that's it. You know what I mean? Your little caliphate, your little situation will all disappear. It will be relegated to the ash heap of history. And we'll look back on the situation and say, well, this was another hurdle that made America great. Another hurdle that Americans overcame and figured out through freedom and through great American ingenuity how to overcome. And I hope that this book becomes a piece of how we overcome terrorism and the fear that they try to instill in us and the way that they try to, just absolutely make us surrender. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very excited about what that means and how that beautiful book is going to look when it's all finished. I'd say by the end of the year, probably at the latest. It's not going to be big. This is going to be a concise training manual, 25, 30 pages max. It's not a book. It's not a sit down and read the history of the active shooter and where it's happened and who it's happened and how it's happened. No, this is going to be clear and concise training manual. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about it being concise. That's it. I want it to be clear and I want it to be concise, and I want people to pick it up and understand exactly what their options are and what they should do to be more prepared for a situation like this. And that's what it'll be. And it'll be based off the training that I gave to my employees. It'll be based off the training that I've done with FEMA. And that's it. You know what I mean? That's it. That's my contribution to this. That is my attack on the terror establishment, right? You're not gonna emasculate me. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? We come prepared, and that's the end of it. We come prepared to live a great life. And if active shooter training is what that entails, and that's what it entails. Hey, we know what to do in the case of a fire, right? That's a very real threat. You can say what you want about whether we should be worried or shouldn't be worried, or, oh, it's such a shame we have to worry about these types of things in America today. Listen, irrelevant. Your shame and the shame is irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, it just becomes part of training, right? It becomes what it means to be an American, what it means to stifle these threats. It's training. So look, guys, I've had fun. I've had fun today. It's always good to spend time just going over your goals and going over where you are in life. And whether you turn this thing off a quarter of the way in because you weren't getting the juicy red meat that you've come to expect, or you weren't getting something about mean, nasty killers or end of the world, end of days scenarios, well, I apologize, but still, I've had a great show. And I hope you have too. Don't forget to join the I Am Liberty Survive the Bugout Challenge at my website. Follow me at I Am Liberty Show. IamLibertyShow.com is the website. And, keep tuned in. It's a big deal. See you next time.